So apparently Jamaica only belongs to one group of people right now. And I want us to talk about them. So there is a TikTok debate tearing through the diaspora right now as I speak. Someone said Jamaica belongs only to Africans. That national motto, out of many one people, is a lie designed to steal black inheritance. And listen, I feel the rage behind that claim. 400 years of stolen labor, stolen names, stolen futures. But here's the thing. When we raise history to reclaim power, we don't become more free. We become exactly what colonizers wanted us to be: divided, confused, and fighting over the crumbs while they still own the table. The question is not who owns Jamaica. The question is, why are we still fighting over land we all built while foreign investors buy our own coastlines? I want you guys to stay with me because this is about to get uncomfortable and it is necessary. There is this clip of this lady talking about this thing, and I want us to watch it to the very end, and then I'll be back to discuss absolutely everything with you guys.
Me I go get a whole heap of hate comments for that one, yeah. But me have to talk truth to the Jamaica. We have to stop pretending. Out of many one people is a bloody lie. And this land belongs to African blood, not contract workers or colonial pets. Out of many one people. Bull crap. The motto is a graveyard with makeup. A lie printed in gold leaf to hide the plantation soil still under our fingernails. So today me I go burn the lie all the way to the ground, and enough I wanna go vex with me. Let's start with the Tainos. First here, first slaughtered. Yes, the Tainos were here, but stop romanticizing it like them still around things. They were exterminated, genocided, murdered in mines, babies bashed on rocks, women raped by Spanish beasts. And by the 1600s, they were dead, systematically erased. So don't throw them name in my face when me start talk about land. Because this is no longer Taino soil. This is African blood soil. And if them spirits still there, if the Taino spirits still there, me know say them would agree with me. The African fought back. The African survived. The African deserved the land. Now let's talk about us Africans. We did not arrive. We were kidnapped, dragged, tortured, raped, and bred like livestock. But still, we built this damn island. We planted canes while bleeding from our backs. We raised children under chains and still taught them how to sing. We survived buck breaking and still birthed warriors. We didn't migrate. We were kidnapped, sold, whipped, ripped from our gods, and still resurrected them. So don't you ever put us in the same sentence as contract workers. Now let's talk about Cromanti, the name they fear to speak. Maroon is a effing nickname the colonizers gave to try to dehumanize Cromantis. Cromanti is the real name. That's the spiritual bloodline. Queen Nanny wasn't a rebel. She was a general, a war priestess. Kujo, Kojo, and Kwao, they were not slaves. They were Akan field commanders reborn in bush. Yes, Babylon feared them so much they made treaties. But then turn around and had them hunt their own people. That's right. Some Cromantis were forced to capture other enslaved Africans. That's history. It hurts. But it's the truth. Even among warriors, colonialism poisoned everything. Now let's examine Indians and Chinese. Either we gonna come clean, I'm wanting to stay silent. Tap on no eyes. Me done with this equality gaslighting. Let's be real and raw. Indians came in 1845 after slavery done. Yes, they were exploited, but they came with contracts, not colors, not chains. They had names. We had numbers. Chinese came in 1854. Struggled, yes, but they built empires not under whips and lash and chains. And today, they run every wholesale, every plaza, every economic gate. While the descendants of enslaved Africans still beg work in them own country. So don't tell me out of many, when we were the only ones that were fed to dogs, raped for generations, and then still expected to suck it up and move on. Out of many, the motto is a frigging spell. And it's designed to fool you. Out of many, one people is a mental sedative. It sounds good, so you stop fighting. It sounds fair, so you stop asking for land. It is a linguistic plantation, keeping black people docile while their inheritance is sold off to foreign investors. While white developers buy out rivers. While churches own acres they got from slave masters. And while our grandparents die on capture land and uptown drink rum of stolen acres. One people, which one? So who does Jamaica belong to? Let me give it to you raw. Jamaica do not belong to the politicians. Jamaica do not belong to the planters' great-grandchildren. Jamaica does not belong to the Indian dynasties. Jamaica do not belong to the Chinese import kings. Jamaica certainly don't belong to Queen Elizabeth Ghost. And it do not belong to the Anglican Church. This land, Jamaica land, belongs to the African mother who breastfed Massa's picnic while hers starved. The bushman that slit throat for freedom in the night. The enslaved that died nameless but still arise up in us. The Cromantes, the field Africans, and the unbroken warriors. Me now wave no flag, now we have truth. Don't sell me unity when me still have to pay rent pan stolen land. Don't sell me togetherness when our dead is still buried in unmarked slave pits. Do and quote no matter to me when black people are still treated like strangers in our own country. This is our land, bought with screams, watered with tears, named in drum beats, and buried in bones. We don't need permission because we are the owners. We are the soil, and we are the fire. And if Babylon can't accept that, we just have to go make it burn.
What's good, family? Welcome back to the Bantu Merchant channel, and today we are wading into dangerous waters. A TikTok creator recently went viral claiming that Jamaica belongs exclusively to Africans, that everyone else from the Chinese to the Indians to the remnants of indigenous people have no legitimate claim to the island. She called the national motto, "Out of many, one people," a mental sedative, a colonial trick designed to keep black people docile while the inheritance gets auctioned off to the highest bidder. Maybe she makes some sense, but now before the comments explode, I'm not here to pick sides. I'm here to do what this channel always does. Tell the truth, even when it's complicated, even when it hurts, especially then. Because here's what I know, guys. Pain does not give you a monopoly on history. And suffering, as sacred as it is, does not erase another suffering. Let me break this down, guys. So the island we call Jamaica was never empty land, waiting for a flag. Before Columbus, before the Spanish horrors, before the British plantations, there were people there, right? There were people occupying Jamaica, the Taino people. They called this place Jamaica, land of wood and water. They finished these rivers, named these mountains, cultivated cassava, built villages, and held spiritual ceremonies under these stars. And yes, they were nearly annihilated. Right? Genocide is not a metaphor. It's what happened. The Spanish enslaved them in mines, raped their women, murdered their children, and brought diseases that ravaged entire communities. By the time the British took over in the 1600s, the Taino people's population had collapsed, but nearly extinct does not mean completely erased. Taino descendants exist. Their DNA runs through Caribbean bloodlines. Their words live in the patois language. The ecological knowledge shaped how we relate with the land. To say they are dead so they don't count is to do to them what colonizers did. disappear them twice. Now let us talk about the backbone of Jamaica. The people who did not choose to come to Jamaica, who were raped from West and Central Africa, stuffed in slave ships and forced to build an empire for free. Right? This is where the TikToker is absolutely right. The African presence in Jamaica is not immigration, it is forced displacement, it is multi-generational torture. Enslaved Africans did not get contracts, they got chains. They did not get wages, they got whips. They didn't get names, they got numbers. Their children were sold away from them, their languages were beaten out of them, their bodies were commodities. So she's right talking about this. And yet, uh, they survived, more than survived. They resisted. They built Maroon communities in the mountains, waged wars against the British, forced treaties, preserved African spirituality, created new languages, and shaped the soul of the land of wood and water. Jamaican patois, Rastafari reggae dancehall, jack chicken seasoning, 9/8 ceremonies, all of that comes from African memory fused with Caribbean soil. So when someone says this is African land, I understand the spiritual claim. Totally. I understand the blood date. The African contribution to Jamaica is irreplaceable and foundational. Alright? But here's where it gets complicated. After emancipation in 1838, the colonial economy needed new labor, right? So the formerly enslaved refused to go back to the plantations, rightfully so. So the British brought in indentured workers. Indians arrived in 1845, Chinese arrived in 1854. Later, Lebanese, Syrian, and other groups followed. They came to Jamaica. Now, the title says, don't put us in the same sentence as contract workers. And she's right that indentureship was not the same as chattel slavery. All right, indentured servants had contracts, terms of service, and the theoretical possibility of return. They were not bred like livestock. They were not fed to dogs. Let us be honest. Indentureship was also exploitation. Those contracts were signed under desperation. Famine in India, poverty in China. Many were lied to about conditions. Uh, Many died on the journey. Many were trapped in debt bondage that lasted generations. Their suffering was real, even if structurally different. And here's the thing, guys. The same colonial system that enslaved Africans also exploited Indians and Chinese. The same plantocracy that whipped black backs also underpaid brown and yellow hands. Uh, Black people were all tools in the same machines, all right? So yes, some of the descendants built businesses, some became economically successful, but that success didn't erase the colonial design. It just shifted who was allowed to climb the ladder while the majority of black Jamaicans remained locked out of wealth. So I want you to understand something. The issue is not Indians or Chinese. The issue is the system that pitted us against each other while white elites kept the deeds. Here's what we need to talk about in deep. While we are fighting over who deserves Jamaica more, foreign corporations are buying up Jamaican beaches. International hotel chains are privatizing your coastlines. The descendants of plantation owners still own massive land parcels. The Jamaican government sells citizenship to wealthy foreigners, while everyday Jamaicans can't afford land in their own parishes. All right, that's the robbery. You get not the Indian shopkeeper, not the Chinese wholesaler, not the mixed race Jamaican with Taino ancestry. The robbery is the continued colonial extraction happening right now while we debate 400-year-old hierarchies of suffering. Is out of many one people a perfect motto? Of course not. Was it used to paper or was it used to paper over real inequality? Absolutely yes. Does it mean sometimes function as a way to avoid reparations conversation? Yes, it is. But it is also a recognition of something that is true. Jamaica is a Creole nation. It was born from collision, fusion, and survival. The music, the food, the language, the spirituality, it is all mixed up. Not because we chose it, but because history forced it. Reggae has African drums and European guitars. Patois has English, Spanish, Portuguese, and West African drum. Jack chicken seasoning combines indigenous Taino techniques with African spices. Alright? So to be Jamaican is to be the product of cultural alchemy forged in the fires of colonialism. And that does not diminish African centrality. It honors how African people adapted, they transformed, created new worlds out of wreckage. So the question is not who owns Jamaica. The real questions are, I want you to get me, who, okay, why do foreign investors own more Jamaican land than Jamaicans? Why are descendants of enslaved Africans still economically marginalized 186 years later after emancipation? Why is there no comprehensive reparations program? Why are we fighting each other instead of the people who still control the world? If we want justice, we need land reforms, we need reparations, we need community ownership, we need economic redistribution, right? But we won't get any of that by pretending Jamaica's only history is one history. I'll say this, the African claim to Jamaica is sacred. The blood, the resistance, the culture, it's the foundation. But foundations support structures. And the structure of Jamaica includes many hands that laid those bricks. We can honor African primacy without erasing indigenous presence. We can demand reparations without scapegoating other marginalized groups. We can center blackness without claiming sole ownership of a Creole nation. Unity is not a sedative, it is a strategy. And the people who benefit most from us fighting each other, they are the ones we should be fighting. That is the conversation, guys. So if this made you uncomfortable, well, that's good. Hit that like button, subscribe, drop your thoughts down in the comments below respectfully. And remember, we are not free, and we are not free until the land is ours. This is the Bantu Merchant, a brother from the motherland Africa, Kenya, the land of Simba. I hope to see you in the next one. I'm out.